blessings beyond imagination. Blessings, everyone. I tell you, what a wonderful day it is. I'm so excited and so happy about today. Come on in. I know y'all been waiting all morning to see our beautiful elder come today and speak about his new book, Elder Reflections, Book 1. But I want to tell you a little something about him because he has an amazing career. And you know I have to introduce him, right, y'all? So I want to just give you a background on this wonderful work that he has done, that he continues to do. So give me just a moment. I'm going to pull up this incredible testimony of his love and his gifts to us as a community. Oloye Karade, whose work as an author, chief priest in Ifa, and college professor have educated thousands on African and indigenous culture and spirituality. Chief Karade's groundbreaking book, The Handbook of Yoruba Religious Concepts, set a precedent for writing on Orisha traditions and was among the first, if not the first, internationally distributed books on Ifa. The handbook was followed by 4 groundbreaking texts: Imoye, a definition of the Ifa tradition; Ojise, messenger of the Yoruba tradition; Kamaworisha, and Ifa, a global perspective, as we lovingly call it. The Oloye still wasn't done. He penned 2 Orisha-centered novels, A Place of Nights and The Souls of Myrrh. He also wrote an original screenplay called Serpents and Butterflies, culminating over 4 decades of initiatory experience in Ifa, to the beautiful Orisha Obatala, and to Ifa, which includes a historic pilgrimage to Ile Ife. Awo delivers once again with his newest book, Elder Reflections, Book 1, the forefather of hundreds, if not thousands, of Olorisha and Ialorisha. His students span the globe. I'm so excited, and I know you'll join me. Love, TaShia Asanti, host and producer of The Window, with an historic interview with our beloved Oloye Karade. Y'all give him some love. Welcome. I see y'all. Come on in. And thank you to Noble Trinity Media, D. Pepper Massey, Ia Oni Shango Day for her support with our show today. Baba, how are you doing today? You just won't quit.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm just an old man in the wilderness, trying to understand the way of life and the nature of all things. So I give homage, and I'm deeply appreciative, and I'm honored, and I want to thank you, Ia, for the flowers, while my feet are still on the ground and not in them. Okay. Yes. And to all the listeners out there, Ibukum, blessings, peace of mind, spirit.
Yes. Yeah. Well, today, Oloye, my Baba, we are talking about your newest book, Elder Reflections, Book 1. And I'm so excited. I have been just knee deep in it. I just want to bring up a copy for everybody to see if we can get the camera to focus a little bit.
Can't see it. The light is showing.
I see. It's just the, okay, we might have to come back. I'll show y'all in a minute. We'll put it up in just a minute. Oh, there it goes. But this is Elder Reflections, Part 1. As y'all can see, I was bleeding out a little bit with my background. But I'll show you this beautiful book in just a moment. And I want to tell you just a little bit about it. Elder Reflections is an exhilarating compilation of the author's essays, poems, and short stories, and the screenplay. The text invites class discussions, reader responses, and visualization. The emphasis is on the acceptance of literature from a global perspective, with core content being African based, set in anecdotal and empirical evidence and study. The need to address functional illiteracy in urban communities is utmost and foremost the intent of this work. This is, of course, set up as the resurrection of a people made to suffer and believe that literature was not permitted to them, and even worse, that they never truly possessed it. It's by means of positive descriptive word imagery and connectiveness that this text implements in order to encourage literacy, proficiency, and be renewed as a result. And I tell you, this description, you when you open these pages and you start to read Elder Reflections, for me, it felt like I was going on a journey with you, Baba,
Yes.
to Africa, to the UK, to the Caribbean, all the places that you have taken Ifa,
Yeah.
into the prisons, into the communities, into the academic world. You have inspired a tradition and a movement of Orisha spirituality, starting with your very first book, The Handbook, which, as I mentioned in the opening, is iconic. And so many people were inspired to write books because you wrote that book. So tell us, Baba, what does it mean to be an elder in Ifa and in the world?
Well,
In your words.
as much as I kind of get possessed and write, the the journey in terms of actual articulation, I must state it holds me in awe, because when I am journeying globally, when I am journeying internally, there's so much to take in, and there's so much to leave out. For example, I'll take in the cultural aspects, I'll take in the connotations of the people. Not everybody does everything the same way, uh, and they may be just as convicted as uh, the others. I'm deep into my conviction, and I may do things differently, but that doesn't mean I believe even less. Okay. Now, when I take that in and have the appreciation for the multiplicity, I can only really encompass that and then encapsulate that inside of my growth as an individual, and then the manifestation of that, via my writing, lectures, and etc. I understand that I have to let go of my preconceived notions. I have to open myself up to the realization of reality in all of its myriad of ways and expressions. And it comes through people, it comes through their beliefs, and it comes through their governments, it comes through their levels of appreciation or lack thereof. So to be an observer generally says, yeah, we take in a lot, but it's important to leave out a lot as well. And that a lot is basically what we want to see and how we want to see it. What we expect people to be, and if they're not like what we want to be, then they should be ostracized and persecuted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then you're not learning. You're just reinforcing, an ego in the negative sense, and you're building a wall of arrogance. And what I've found is that when I free myself of that, then I can see, you know. And when I look into the unseen looks back at me and says, this is what we want to say. And we're going to use you as an instrument. of our unheard voice, of our unseen, so that people can perhaps get an understanding. So all my travels have basically equated, you know, to one thing. Can equate to one thing, and that's openness.
Mm,
you know.
mm. Wow. Thank you, Baba. Absolutely profound. And when I look at the expansion of Ifa, when I first met you 24 years ago,
Oh,
and when I began to study, became one of your students,
yes.
and when I look at the ways that Ifa has expanded to be part of, house music, where you
Mhm.
have DJs that are weaving in Orisha music,
Yes.
when you have, it being taught via AI, all over the world using digital platforms,
Yes.
where we can find the information and wisdom. And one of the things that you taught me and us
Hmm.
early in my journey was to be able to recognize Ifa in everyday life. You said, and I don't know if you remember this, but you said that if you can't see Yamaja in the mother pushing her baby in a stroller down the street,
Right.
or the train, if you can't see Ogun in the train that is moving through the city, then
Right.
you don't know Orisha. You taught
Ah.
us to see Orisha in everyday life so that we could see Orisha in ourselves.
Ah. Shay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes. My next question, and I don't know if you want to read an excerpt today, but I want to talk about page 11 in Elder Reflections, Book 1.
Mm.
And Ia Onishango Day is posting the link. If you don't have the book, you can go on Amazon.com. We're posting the link during the show and purchase it right now and get your copy in the next couple days, along with Oloye's other books. There are many of them to choose from.
Mm.
And there's new books coming, as well as a movie that will be done. And but on page 11, you talk about the importance of the ancestors, which you have
Okay.
always taught your students and readers
Hmm.
how important it was to connect into the ancestors. And it's kind of a funny story called Chicken Wing. And it's so good, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm not even
What?
going to
What?
tell you all. But in the commentary, and one of the beautiful pieces of this book, family, is that you can put your own thoughts. So you get to co create with Baba um, through these essays and his teachings in this book. You get to co create by sharing your wisdom and your impressions and your experiences as you're writing the book. Again, if you're just tuning in, welcome everybody. I see y'all come on in. Thank you, Ia. Oh, let me just welcome our guests that came to hear you today. Ia
Mm.
Omi Segun is on from Houston.
Ah.
Ian Nanina Ra from California, India Harville from Arizona, welcome. To
Mm.
El Bay, peace to all, yes, welcome. And Ia Oyaseke, welcome right here in Nevada. Jivani Singh right here in Nevada. Ia Oshanike Onifade, who you named many years ago, is on. So, welcome
Hello.
everybody. Come on
Mm.
in. We are interviewing and having a discussion with the Oloye Karade. And today we're talking about his newest book, Elder Reflections, Book 1. And we are releasing this book. Baba's going to give you all a special gift. So, stay tuned for the entire show, because at the end of the show, Baba's going to bless everybody who came on today with an opportunity to get both book. Well, I'm not even going to tell you, it's a surprise. So you
Mm.
have to stay on to find out. But anyway, Baba says on page 11, offering to our ancestors is an important part of Yoruba Isheshe. However, our offerings must transcend prayers, pictures, and plates of food. There is, as a suggestion, the need to remember heartwarming interactions and memorable times especially when life's lessons where are bestowed. To reflect on our more immediate ancestors' survival with dignity intact is worthy of reverence and veneration. Baba, could you share a little bit on this and what your inspiration was for this passage?
Yes. Well, to just kind of little, set the stage a bit, you know, they were saying, that, you know, young black boys and their grandmothers, you understand, you know, that there's some sort of connection there that is very pronounced and very, very, very deep, unfathomable, you know. And I felt that way about my grandmother. And I need to never forget her. And it's not just, a matter of, oh, I'm gonna put a picture on my altar, I'm gonna, like, I want to relive through my reflections and reflect through my reliving. And what comes to mind can't be forced. It can't be, oh, I'm going to I'm going to write this because I think it's going to sound this way. No, no, it has to be sort of a spontaneous and a heartfelt. Um, for example, I don't sit down and plan to write basically anything. Is that
Mm,
I'm so moved, and upon certain times and certain events or situations, like when my mother passed
mm,
at the funeral, it reminded me of when my grandmother passed. That synchronicity that brings together a culmination of moments
mm,
in experience and in time. So that dinner table time, when I was in there underfoot, you know, and my grandmother was there with the flower shifter and everything, things you don't really see anymore. But coming up, back in the 50s and all, these things were commonplace for us. The little ice cream makers, the flower shifters, and grandma in the kitchen, and chicken frying and all that kind of thing. And I'm like, I can't forget that, even though for a long time it seems like I didn't remember it. You see,
mm,
you know, the we are all of what we are composites of,
mm,
and there are times when we try to knock on the door of it, but then there are other times when the door just opens for us. It's like I knew you were coming, so I fried up some chicken. You understand
mhm.
that kind of thing,
Yes,
as
yes.
opposed to I'm being paid to write a an essay on my grandmother. No, 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 no.
Mm,
So
yes.
when this came to me, when my grandmother came through me, through me, it's like how can I best honor her? What words can I place on that altar that come from
Mm,
my heart?
mm,
You know, and I pinned this. That
mm,
chicken wing. That you going well, you're gonna turn into a chicken wing one day because I used to love chicken wings. I ain't gonna lie. Okay.
mm.
So,
Yes,
for any other part of the chicken, give me them wings. Okay.
yes.
And especially if Granny cooked them.
Right.
So I wanted to put that for
Mm,
posterity, not
mm,
just so that I'm remembered, but
mm,
so that her wisdom
mm, mm,
is as eternal
mm, mm,
as her grace
mm,
and her
mm,
beauty. The fact that I can elaborate on it, the fact that I can compare that kitchen to a symphony. You know what I mean? The fact that I can place this, in a form of proficiency. Whereas in young students, we even say, yeah, when I'm in the kitchen with my granny, it starts to deepen as their experience, you know, and I find that paramount, especially
mm,
with distractions these days, and
Yes.
everybody's growing up so fast, and and just so much going on. And here we are, elders, and if we're not reinforcing the importance of elders, then how can we expect a young person to do it? That's inconceivable. That does not compute.
Yes.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Ashe Baba. And the when we look at the crisis with our youth, we
mm,
see how important the ancestors are, as well as, like you said, the living ancestors, the ones who are still alive, the elders.
yes.
And in this book, Elder Reflections, book 1, and understanding, once that legacy doesn't exist in the physical, it is a huge loss and a shift. And so,
Yeah.
as much that can be invested in the relationship with the elders
Yes.
before they cross over, I
Mm,
feel like it will deepen um, the connection for life, as well as sometimes save our very lives.
yes.
Because I know, as the things that you've taught, that in a crisis or a challenge, I'm able to draw upon and remember.
Uh,
And like you said, it's not just uh, the ceremony or the ritual, but
mm,
it's the interaction. It's the
yes.
phone call. It is the time spent sharing a meal or listening to your music,
Yes.
hearing a message in that. Things like, never used to say, don't drain yourself trying to satisfy the emptiness in others. I
Yes.
can't tell you how many times that quote, it's like, you know what, you know,
Yes.
saved our life, and so these are the things that I think our young people are missing. And they're turning to things like crystal meth, they're
Mm-hmm.
turning to gangsterism, they're
Yes.
turning to so many destructive mechanisms instead of going and having a chicken wing with Granny and
Yeah.
sitting at her table. And just having her love go into that food and into your belly.
Yeah.
That is a healing act to be able to do that.
Right.
So I really appreciate this
Right.
section.
Mm-hmm.
And just on page 15, there was another chapter. I mean, the whole book resonated with me
Mm-hmm.
as I'm a budding elder.
Yes.
But you take us back to the essence of nature on
Uh,
page 15. Yes.
mm,
And, do it so beautifully. And you write, again, if you're just tuning in, welcome everybody. I see y'all coming on in. Post your questions to Oloye, and we will go back and read your questions. This is a interactive event. So Oloye wants to hear your thoughts. If you have the book, please say, I got my copy. But if you don't have the book, you can go online today and procure it. And Iya Onishango Day is posting those links. And so avail yourself. But I want to read page 15.
okay.
It says, who can deny the essence and power of nature? Humans, and perhaps other sentient creatures, have personified nature in religions and myths, myths being the religions of conquered people. And we, as sentient beings, have altered nature to appear as we do by a process deemed, and I have to see Baba, so he's a professor, anthropomorphism. So my
Yes.
mother taught me how to say
All right.
sound out big words, professor. It says the point is not one of religious convictions, but instead of human capabilities via our brains and various neurological systems to perceive, associate, and transcend our conditional mindset. In this sense, we not only believe what we see, but also see what we believe. Ooh, I gotta repeat that. In this sense, we not only believe what we see, yes, but also see what we believe. No judgment, just fact. And what we come back with from our walk into the realm of nature to make offerings and prayers is equally, if not more important, than going in the first place and
Hmm.
experience the moment at the moment we arrive. Are we heightened? Is the question most profound. And how do we now see things differently, even ourselves? And again, if you have your copy, you know that below that, you can actually take this book with you out into nature, which I'm going to do, and just take it in and follow those directives that the Oloye has just shared with you. And write your response, write your impressions, your feelings, your experiences of that moment. It says most profound. How do we now see things differently, even ourselves? So, Loye, could you speak to that passage?
Uh, you know, again, there's so many words. Uh, the experiences are conceptions. You know, our experiences have a way of conceiving us. We become newborns. You know, we become more than, but never other than who we are. And by embracing this one ultimate reality, we have a shifting of what I call a shifting of the perspective paradigm. We change how we perceive based on how we perceive. Okay. And when we come to the understanding, back to the ultimate reality, that we're not in nature, we are nature.
Mm, mm,
That's undeniable. But yet it is consistently denied
mm,
by either social engineering or psychological engineering. There are ways to detach human beings from nature.
mm,
You can either destroy the nature around them, okay, or you can destroy their perception
mm,
and perspective of nature within them.
mm,
And as I pondered this, I began to have glimpses of portals, if you will,
mm,
that were opening up slowly and sometimes painfully
mm,
to a deeper understanding. And that is in Ifa, Isheshe, Orunmila states, as the prophet figure, the elder sage, many names, okay, that the ultimate purpose of being in this way of life is to become an authentic human being.
mm,
Everything that you're doing has to lead to your authenticity.
mm,
The who are you, the why are you, the where are you, the when are you. And at the core of that is your character development, Iwapuele, your
mm,
oneness with nature, Iwalewa, and your ability to evolve without regression, to construct without being self destructive.
mm,
And when that becomes a concrete goal and not an abstract study or, somebody just telling you in passing, it's like, no, this is what the faith is all about.
mm,
Not because I say so, but because the rumor says so.
mm, mm,
And left it there for us. Now, take that and pour into that vessel, if you will,
mm,
the undeniable truth that we are nature. Then we start to see ourselves in nature and we start to see nature in ourselves and we can dance in the rain, okay, and we can be at that river and we can stand on the ocean and we can be that
mm,
if we just allow ourselves to break from the conditioned mindset that religions have to be all the more ceremonial, and all the more a belief in what is supposedly sacred script, and we deny ourselves the nature that is inherent, then we
Mm.
I I I I must say, I must say, we are missing out on so much of life. We are. We're missing out on so much of life. And when I started, to reflect upon this, the words just poured through me, and this came as a result of the title, "My Offerings to Oshun."
Mm.
You know, I'm out there, with my Tai Chi and everything, and I'm starting to feel Ijala, with the poetry of the hunters, the poetry, okay, of the warriors, and I start to understand why they became poetic. I start to understand why the warriors become poets,
Mm. Mm.
because they are open, their senses are heightened to such a point and a degree where they understand that nature is either going to work with you or you're going to deny it, and it's going to work against you, not because of any directive against you, but because you're not at one with it. And that's not nature's fault, that's our fault. Right? So I'm out there with my Tai Chi, everybody, I'm the old Tai Chi man around here, nobody else. I don't bother nobody, don't nobody bother me. All right, leave me alone. Okay. So I'm out there, I'm communing with nature, and I see this little dandelion surrounded by an army of grasses. And it's just one little dandelion. And I wanted to go take it and put it on my shrine for Oshun, because
Mm.
I am son of Oshun,
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, Oshun.
Mm. Mm.
So I went over to pluck it, and something said, "Don't pluck it. Why do you want to take this from the life that I've given?"
Mm.
And I said, "Well, we take things all the time. We do all kinds of things." I said, "No, no, no, no. If you're going to understand the oneness of things, just let it be. Let it be. Let it grow like you're being let to grow.
Mm. Mm.
I don't." Oshun was saying, "I don't want it."
Mm.
Okay. So of course I'm like, okay, all right. I'm tripping right now. Folks are like, what's going on? I'm over there talking to the little dandelion and in the grass. So I come back the next day. Now I'm an elder. Sometimes short stories can get long, so y'all bear with me.
That's all right. It's wonderful.
And it's not there anymore.
Mm.
It's been cut down.
Mm.
The lawnmowers, the guys come and they cutting down, and it showed up all the pedals are all over the place, and I was like, oh, I was devastated. I mean, really, it was like, somebody killed my mama.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'm upset.
Yes.
And internally, I was crying. I was like, I felt that so deeply.
Mm.
But then the voice came to me at whatever level of deepness that I was experiencing, and said, it wasn't about you putting the flower on the shrine. It was about you putting your sincerity on the shrine. It was about you
Mm.
putting your love for me on the shrine. It was
Mm.
about you being in your nature, that you gave the nature of you to the nature of me, Oshun. And I love you for that.
Mm.
Because anybody can go out and put anything on an
Mm.
altar or a table, but that doesn't
Mm.
mean they love. That doesn't mean they're sincere. That doesn't mean that they are communing with the Ori of the Orisha,
Yes.
the spirit of the Orisha, because Orisha have spirits. The Orisha have an Ori. The Orisha have love,
Mm.
and they have a response to those who love them
Mm.
sincerely and deeply. And how are
Mm.
you going to do that if you don't give the nature of yourself
Mm. Mm.
to the nature
Ooh.
of all?
Ashe, Baba. Ashe, the nature. We're talking about The Essence of Nature family. For those of you who are watching online, and welcome to everyone. I see all of your beautiful posts. I'll read some of your comments to the Oloye. One of the things that Iya Oyaseke writes, young black boys and their grandmothers, talking about that passage that you just spoke on. I totally agree. My sons were all very close to her. A beautiful connection they had and still have with her, now being our mighty ancestor. So speaking on the
Right.
passage that we just read, and Yawo Adefumi says, I just purchased my copy, Modupe Oloye. Awesome, awesome. Give the
Okay.
post when you can. Take a picture of you holding the book and
Mm,
post it if you're in the group. You can post it in the group or send it to the Aloye and he'll post it in the group in the Karade Nation. And Jennifer, welcome Jennifer. Yay, Colorado, Boulder.
right,
Ashe
Colin.
Oloye, Maritza from Oakland, one of our newest babies who just got her sacred beads,
Oh,
says
shit.
that hit so hard. We are nature versus going out into nature and experiencing feeling so small and insignificant, and that being the comfort rather than being fully connected to the beauty and being part of the perfection divine. So, giving love, yes, I shall. Welcome, welcome, everybody. And if I missed it, please repost your question, your thought on the passages. If you have a copy of the book, if you have a question, Ia Ominike Segun says, Aboru Aboye Abosise Baba Karade. What an honor to hear from one of my elders. Thank you for always returning the teaching and healing to the community. I shall, yeah. Thank you
Shit.
so much. And welcome Janine, India Harville, Nicole Smith Johnson, all of you who are on. Wow, the numbers are just getting bigger and bigger. We're so happy that you're here. Pinky says, Ia Oyaseke Petrovic. I
Oh,
just
but
purchased my copy as well.
right now.
Awesome.
I love
Yay.
it.
Let's blow it
Yeah.
up. And y'all don't forget to post the review because the reviews really elevate our ranking on Amazon. So once you finish the book, if you would please go and write a great review. If you love the book about Elder Reflections Book One. If you're just tuning in, we are interviewing the Oloye Ifa Karade, chief priest, author of many, many books, screenwriter, and amazing, amazing teacher and professor. I named him this. He doesn't say this. I'm always doing stuff, but I say he is a professor of African theology and culture because he has spent over 40 years preserving our traditional African culture, theology, and teachings across the world. And welcome Oshun Yomi Ifalere Adeyemi. Welcome Yawo says loving all of this, placing our nature on the shrine for Oshun. And Yawo is a new initiate, recently received Odu Orisha. And so you are seeing your forefather today and meeting your forefather. So
Blessing.
well, it's a glorious day to have the Aloye with us. I want to go to page 23. And it's
Yes.
just so much in this book, y'all. We're going to go over just a little bit because we had a technical difficulty when we were starting. So we're
Mm,
going to go over just a little bit to give y'all the full blessing of Baba. But on page 22 in
mm,
Elder Reflections, Book 1, oh, Ian Nanina's here. Great love to our beloved Aloye Ifa Karade. I am so
yes.
grateful. Many blessings, as well as another initiate in Obatala. She
Yep.
says, Obodu Oboye Abosise Oloye Ifa Karade. Adishira Oshunleke Yawo. So yay, all of the childrens are
Nope.
coming.
Morning.
Oloye.
All right.
But we're now, if you have a copy of your book, we're on page 22.
Mm-hmm.
And Baba placed in this book an excerpt from his novel, A Place of Nights, War and Resurrection. And I'm just going to read a little bit because you have to get the novel. to get the power.
Okay.
This
Yeah.
is, yes,
Forgive me. All right.
yes, oh, no, please.
If people want to get the PDF like right now, and they can relaunch, they can go to that gumroad.com, and I
Oh,
have all the books there as PDF. They can purchase the PDF and click read, and they can read
right
as
now.
right now.
Ia Onishango Day, if you would please post that link in the chat so it'll appear on YouTube and here on Facebook. You're watching us live on Facebook.
Yeah.
Post that Gumroad link, please. It should be in your text message to where they can get the manuscripts right away, immediately. So that you don't even have to wait for them to come in the mail. You
Exactly. So
have
it's
them
not,
like after the show or either right now.
yeah.
Okay?
So it's not just a mailing list, my people.
Yes.
It's
A portal.
all. I've 6 books there, and all you have to do upon purchase is you can download it, or you can
Oh,
just click. You don't even have to
oh,
download it. You can click, and and all the work of whatever book you choose will.
oh my goodness. And again, we have a surprise before the end of the show. Y'all have to stay on because Oloye is going to give a special gift to everyone who stopped by today. We're working on something spectacular. Baba's always working on something. When y'all ask why do I stay busy and am always producing, because that's what he modeled for me, is to always be producing something good. So join the movement. Get in the flow of the movement. Oh, there it is. Perfect. The Gumwood link is listed on the banner, and here it is right there. So y'all can click on that link. You can sign up to get announcements. So when book 2 is released, you can come to the premiere of that. And the book launch, help with the book launch. You have book clubs,
Yeah,
anything you can do to support this beautiful work. We
yeah.
ask. Yes, sir.
Book two is already out.
Oh,
There's no night and no
go
day.
ahead and tell them, Bob.
No night. There's no day. It's not in book form yet, but it's in the PDF,
Oh my
so people can
goodness.
get book 2 like right now.
Oh my God. So
So we
literally,
work.
we celebrate on September 7th. We're just making Yamaja's birthday
Okay, I
the
see. They moved
official
down.
release date of Elder Reflections Book 2, which I have to share with y'all that Baba published my poem,
You're
my
right.
tribute that I wrote years ago when we hosted the first international EFOC conference
Yeah.
in Denver, Colorado, where the Oloye was presented with the Lifetime Achievement Award. And you can go online and see some of these videos and pictures. And on YouTube, there's footage from the conference. And so there was a poem that I was able to read that day, and it's never been published. So now it is a published poem, and that's a part of the book. So as a poet, it's to have your work published is everything. So you not only get all of these fabulous essays and stories and teachings in the book too, you get to read a poem that I wrote. So it's a glorious day. That's all I can say. So get your
Karade, Karade's drum
now, now act like
kept it
you know
all
what they
these
say.
years.
We have fun, but anyway, this is a place of
Beautiful. Yeah, okay, my dear.
direction.
Hmm.
This is an excerpt from chapter 4. I'm only going to read a little bit. Y'all have to get the book. It says children playing on the lakeshore stopped and stared in amazement at young woman lying there. She was wet and the sand oozed over her like thick honey. Fetal positioned, she lay motionless. Gathering around her, they pushed and prodded to see if she was alive. When it became clear she wasn't, they ran to tell Seneca Humani. The headsman, after informing his wife of his leaving, followed the excited youngsters. When he reached the body, he knelt and softly called her name, Nina. There was no response. He checked her vital signs and gently shook her. Her gleaming, transparent eyes slowly opened, and he gazed into them. Her taut, blue bronze skin glistened, and her hair, long and twisted, fell below her back like the vines and reeds that grew along the lakeside. I have you, he said, as he and the able youngsters carried her to his lodge. Foregoing morning rituals, the villagers followed. Ancient hymns sprang from their lips, and smoke from their incense clouded the sky. Upon her husband's entrance, Mataji stopped everything and wrapped a tie-dyed cloth around the stranger who'd come from the lake. She then prepared a mixture of papaya, mangoes, rice, and yams, and placed the mixture on the table. Nina looked around. She seemed unable to grasp her surroundings, her place in the world. She slowly stirred the food and ate in small bites. I'm gonna stop there. I know y'all getting into it, right? Y'all like so you have to go and get the book. We're posting the link there in the chat that you can go and order today. And let's just blow it up, fam. You know, whether you go here or go on Amazon and order your book. Some of you have Kindle and different platforms. And again, please post your review of the book, share it on your social media so that we can support the Oloye, our beloved elder. So this,
I'm going. Please forgive me.
yes, yes, Father,
I'm going to add to what you just read, okay?
yes.
Because I'm so moved, and I'm not. I'm hearing your voice so deeply. Okay, I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish this up. So, please, good people, bear with me. Okay. All right. So to catch, she slowly stirred the food and ate in small bites. Senator Kumani sat in front of her. Tell us who you are. Tell us why you're here.
Mm,
I'm Amina, priestess of Buluku. I've come to help you and all of humanity. Where do you come from? I come from the caverns beneath the lake, the womb of earth, the home of God.
mm,
Why have you come back to the world of the living? I've come back to be God's voice. Senator Kumani leaned forward. What does God have to say?
mm,
God's message is da, da, da.
mm,
What is this da, da, da? Da is self control and discipline.
mm,
Da is bettering the world by increasing goodness in the world.
mm,
Da is compassion for all things, living, dead, either, and neither.
mm,
Will God save us? He asked. God will help us, but not save us.
mm,
How will God help us? By sending me. God has done all he cares to do.
mm,
Are you a spirit or a goddess? I am the priestess of Buluku.
mm,
How shall we worship you? How shall we become your congregants? I'll not be worshipped, Amina said, nor will I have congregants.
mm,
Villagers placed flowers at her feet and they reached out to touch her. And in their reaching, they forgot the dread of day and they forgot the war looming over them.
mm,
They lost themselves in the knowledge that the Great Spirit lives and that he cared enough to send someone to help them. Then it goes on. But that da da da, people are like, where you get that?
da, da, da.
The ancient Dravidians and Upanishads, okay, they carry this.
Mm,
And when we look into the Yoruba, okay, which of course is a misnomer of the Oyo and the Benin empires,
mm,
Da, as in Eda,
mm,
is creation.
mm,
Dama is the quieting of the senses as one prepares for meditation.
mm, mm,
Okay. Da Wa is a solitary way of life in order to heighten one's spiritual nature and essence. So we keep seeing Da throughout the traditions.
mm.
Ifa. Okay. So when I make those connections, whatever little bit of mine I have left, oh, it's gone.
Oh my God. I'm so glad that's recorded.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna have to go back and play the replay to get that what Papa just taught us about Da.
Yeah. Da.
Mm,
Okay.
mm. Okay.
Discipline and oneness and respect for all things.
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, what else? What
Self-discipline.
yeah,
Mhm,
what else? What else? Okay. You know, after all this time and for all we do, it really gets broken down to something very simplistic,
mhm,
yet nearly impossible to achieve.
mhm,
So we have to kind of step away from the complexity and the busyness
mhm,
and reflect.
mhm.
Isiri is reflection.
City. Mhm.
IRISI.
Sorry, I can't do that.
Sorry.
Nobody asked you.
I know Siri thought you were talking to her. She does that to me all the time.
Oh, please, woman.
Laughter is awesome. If you're just tuning in, we're with the Oloye Karade. I am Love, TaShia Asanti, and we are talking about Baba's newest book, Elder Reflections, Book 1. We are also celebrating today the release of Book 2, and Ioni Shango Day has posted the link where you can be among the first to get this book. So avail yourself and enjoy, enjoy. I have a couple more.
Okay.
There's an essay, Baba, on page 66.
You say that like it means something. Okay. All right.
And it is, y'all, to show you how
Oh, from
long
OG.
Baba has been on this journey.
Okay.
This is dated July 17th, 1991. So he's been practicing EFOP for just a couple days.
Oh, I'm still a baby. Please
Right, right.
be
In
patient.
this book. All right, right. Ojise, Messenger of the Yoruba Tradition, and it was published in 1996 and by Redwell Weiser, one of the largest publishers of literature, uh, indigenous earth-based spirituality. And Baba writes in this essay about Africa. And Baba, I don't know, do you want to read this? I was just like, to hear you read is such
No.
an
You
honor.
inspired me. You inspired me. I love hearing your voice. Please continue.
That was, yeah, y'all. Y'all got to give today. That's all. Oh, we have a lot of new comments. Okay, let me read some of y'all's
All
comments.
right.
Uh, Step away and reflect. Yes, 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 I concur. Modupwe Baba on these powerful teachings. Da. They're saying it now. So just keep them coming. And if you have questions, family, again, I see so many of you on here. This is an interactive discussion, and we're going to have one more time before we close that you're going to get to ask Baba questions about this book, about the other books. Some of you, I know almost everyone on here has the handbook. Many of you have a Moye or a Jise, Global Perspectives. If you have any of those books and you have questions, if not, get them today. You can get them today.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let's read a little bit of this. And you pronounce Bada, is it Badagry?
Badagry.
Badagry.
Yes,
Okay.
dear. Okay.
Africa, for the African descendant, needs to be perceived as a place of healing that can only be described as soulful. Africa provides potent medicine, which must be taken, a medicine which is bitter to take at times, making it hard to swallow. A medicine which is sweet at times, making it hard to say enough. A medicine that can make the senses screech due to levels of extreme agitation or lull those very same senses to deep serenity,
Mm,
bringing sound sleep and mystic visions. The medicine may cause cleansing reactions that painfully expose our illnesses. Yet Africa is a medicine which must be taken if we are to be healed.
mm.
Say it again, pronounce it again.
Badagry.
Badagry,
Yes.
the noted Nigerian sport, made infamous by the selling of captured Africans during the horrid enslavement era of the 15th through the 19th centuries. It took us about an hour to reach Badagry from Lagos. We drove down the Nigerian turnpike. We passed tolls, armed militias, arrays of roadside markets, and cultural arts stadium. And the cultural arts
Hmm.
stadium, y'all heard that right.
Hmm.
The friendly driver drove slowly into Badagry. The town reminded me of Ejigbo. Yes, said Ia. Badagry is much like, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Ejigbo, but it,
Ejibo. That's all right.
Ejigbo, yes,
That's all
Papa,
right. Mm-hmm.
but it is a spiritual matter, not an economic one. The ancestors have instructed people not to change too much. I silently nodded. I silently understood. We found the slave building, which was located near the shoreline. A teenage boy directed us to the inside of the stone construction built and utilized for the sole purpose of containing those African persons enslaved. Here they waited in chains for the European slave ships. The young teen mechanically demonstrated the various chains and torture implements used to inflict pain and fear. He told us of the village chief who assisted the European enslavers in the amassing of African souls for the New World bondage. The tomb of his chief was ironically placed in this slave fortress. I just want to read a couple more paragraphs. Because as
Hmm.
you saw, when Baba got to that meat in that other one, I was so excited. The guide pointed to the nearby cannon. Here is the cannon, he continued in clear English. If anyone was caught outside after its third sounding, then they too would be captured and sold. He was speaking of those people who actually lived in the town. By this time, I was cast into a pit like state of anger, confusion, hurt, and disgust, emptiness, loneliness, bitterness, and pain. Do you understand? Asked Ia. I understand, I replied, but hit perhaps a bit too strongly. We
Hmm.
both became silent. So literally, you are with the Oloye on one of his pilgrimage to the continent, to the motherland,
Yeah.
in which he experienced the energies and some of the horrors that our ancestors went through. Ojise, I mean, the handbook is an international bestseller. It's in multiple languages in many countries.
Hmm.
But one of my favorites is Ojise. I actually have my copy, which I've had for many years. I know it. There it is. Kind of see the cover there. I'm sorry, these mirror reflections. There we go. This is Ojise. It's actually one of my favorite books
Yeah.
because you really feel like you are with the Oloye. And if you haven't had the blessing of going home to Africa, you will really feel that messenger who speaks in this story and his personal accounts. And it's a healing. The book is really a healing salve for people of African descent, people of color and conscious.
Yeah.
Baba, can you talk a little bit about this passage and share what it was like to be on the land and in that energy at that moment?
I'm going to be able to do that in
Yes,
in part because it was so much, so
yes,
much.
yes,
I'm going to continue the next two paragraphs of what you
yes,
read. You know,
yes.
we're like peaches and herb right now, aspirin and Simpson. You know what I mean? We
This is so.
all right. Let the music play. After everything that Yanni first stated, as I stepped outside, I was overcome by a mysterious pull. I felt the need to be alone. I felt the need to answer the call of the winds that rippled across the vastness of time. I needed to feel the soil beneath my feet, to wade in the waters. I needed to be at this place, which may have very well been the pit of my ancestral rupture.
Mm.
At the water's edge, I removed my sandals and rolled up the cuffs of my pants. As I walked into the sea, I gazed skyward. I was uplifted. I felt my spirit rise. I was speechless. Leaning forward, I washed my already submerged feet and lower legs. Then, without rational reason, I felt myself being drawn down into the depths.
Mm.
I did not resist.
Mm.
I allowed my body to bend further down until I could easily scoop up handfuls of ocean and then pour it over my more than receptive being. And I'll leave it there.
Whoo. That's page 66, family.
Now, and as I carry this into the question about the sojourn
Yes.
to Africa, I think this may have been this was July of '91. This was my first time there. I went back, for confirmation
Yes.
in Ejibo, but I was there in Kenya in '77,
What?
and it took that 3 times
Mm.
for me to emerge from the shadows
Mm.
of this educational system, of this Eurocentric mindset, of this repetition of religious indoctrination. It took time and effort to emerge, to break free,
Mm.
and not carry into Isheshe the very elements
Mm.
that were keeping me from it,
Mm.
and to connect again with the ancestors, going back to chicken wing and going back to great great grandma and going back to actually living in a slave cabin, because that's where I was, you know, first brought into an awareness of myself. Okay. It's like, what is it that we need to do in order not to increase our levels of worldliness, but
Mm.
to increase our being in the other reality of this life?
Mm.
And it's not delusional, it's not illusional, it's just separated.
Mm.
And when you visit one of these slave fortresses, I refuse to call them castles,
Yeah.
fortresses, and you hear the voice and you see the chains, and you come to grips with the totality of it as much as we possibly can, then something happens as a result. Something has to happen. Okay. And then we are uplifted in our understanding of what it is that we have to do. And that is continue a legacy. And you can't continue a legacy if you're not reflecting on what has happened, if you're not knowledgeable of what has happened, and if you don't become a voice to continue the importance of what you say you believe in.
Mm. Shay. Shay, Baba. Whew. Y'all, this, I can't even, there's no words. I have one more passage that I want to go talk about before we close.
Yes, dear.
I know we're purchasing the books. I'm really happy to see how many of you are saying you're getting the copy. And Ioni Shangode has posted links for all of the books that are online, as well as the website, the Gumroad
Yeah, that's
website address, where you can get the PDF copies of the book immediately. And if you again have your account and your credits with Amazon, that's fine too. And please be sure to write a great review again. So I want to read from page 73. And it talks, you have a section called critical points.
Ah.
Yeah. We're going to close with a bang.
You sure you want to do this?
This is a whole, I want to say this is a whole workshop. Baba has lectured extensively in the college and the academic systems. If you work with a university or you're at an organization where the Oloye can come and speak to your contingent, or if you have a sorority or fraternity, get in touch. If you don't have the contact information, y'all can, inbox me and I'll connect you with the Oloye and his people to arrange for him to come out. Because this knowledge, is so powerful. That's why one of the, I think is the second or the third book that the Oloye wrote was called Imoye, which I had to look up these words. This is kind of the way that I learned Yoruba, was looking up the meaning of the titles of the Oloye's book. But you learn about the knowledge and the wisdom of Ifa and the definition through that book. So that's also one of my favorites. But in Critical Points, page 73 in Elder Reflections, book 1, Baba talks about the enslavement period. And he writes, white slavery is a fascinating area of study and, if nothing else, levels the playing field on one hand, and on the other bespeaks man's inhumanity to man, regardless of color or class or notions of religion and cultural. Whites in the world have suffered enslavement, yet this area of study is virtually absent in U.S. educational curriculum. But the enslavement of blacks is a matter of general knowledge. I'm just going to read a couple more of these. Mainstream mass media and literature don't, in mass, present the horrors of white slavery, but they do emphasize how Africans were subjugated, and how uncivilized they were before capture and conversion. And those books and movies that do go to great lengths to not dehumanize or overly reduce the defeated to complete subhuman standards as a matter of recognizing the fight against other Europeans are often presented as heroic. So these things that the Oloye is talking about here, are the subtle ways that the consciousness and views and imagery of people of African descent, people call it conscious, is shaped in the world. And he writes in the critical point number 4, if we're going to address slavery, then let's do so on a global scale so that it becomes very clear that the tactics created and applied aren't relegated to Africans. They were in existence long before the Atlantic slave. British Protestants, that enslaved Africans, but they enslaved the Irish and Scottish as well. So I'll stop at 5. I mean, in these critical points, and especially if y'all are part of our community, our extended and community family, the Karade lineage, we want to study these points, as well as the general public are encouraged to study these critical points that the Oloye lists in this section of the book, because they're so plainly put that, and someone says, someone is quoting, it says, it was always my understanding the white enslaved was indentured servitude with a finite length of time. Exactly. This is a YouTube viewer right now who is making that comment. So again, yes, this is how we can, help to deconstruct these systems of slavery and white supremacy that are so harmful to our humanity as a whole. Right. Oloye, could you speak a bit on the critical points?
Yes. Just kind of riding the winds of the person whom you just read from about the indentured servant. Absolutely. or in school, throughout the halls of academia, okay, if whites were in any way equated to enslavement, it was through the indentured servant process. But that's not true. That is not true. Okay. And I'm not, speculating here. I have research all throughout the essay,
Yeah.
documented, and I'll take uh, prior to this chapter of white slavery's global history is the fact that the AD 8th century to the 12th, Dublin, Ireland, was the slave capital of Europe.
Mm.
Nothing to do with Africans. Nothing. Okay. Both Ireland and British Isles were invaded by Vikings who destroyed villages and newly formed churches. Jim O'Donnell writes in his article, The Slave Market of Viking Dublin, at the time of this Celtic tiger economy was the trade in what Vikings called thralls or slaves. And the slave market provided labor and concubines from the British Isles to Scandinavia and even to Muslim Spain.
Mm.
And that's just one of the quotes. I could go back slavery in medieval Italy,
Wow.
where the Italians were held. And see, we can see, for example, Gladiator, the movie with Russell Crowe. All right,
Yeah.
and we look at that, and it's like, okay, he's so heroic and all of that, but they were enslaved. The Romans were enslaving everybody that they came in contact with,
Mm.
and then taking the able bodies and sometimes the not so able bodies and putting them in the coliseums and working them to death.
Mm.
Okay, and all kinds of horrible things were happening to the point where people were revolting and rebelling.
Mm.
Okay, in any way and by any means necessary. And this had nothing to do with Africans, nothing. And then we start looking at the Barbary Coast, where the Muslims were raiding Europe and taking whites as slaves back to Arabia. Now we
Mm.
know all of this was happening to African people. Why do we know it? Because we are bombarded with it. And why are we bombarded with it? Well, to subjugate us, to socially engineer us, and psychologically traumatize us continually.
Mm.
Okay. And never present in a traumatizing and defeating way that whites were enslaving whites long before they were enslaving blacks
Mm.
and for a longer period of time. And whites were being enslaved by the Middle Eastern Muslims. Okay. And this is not a part of our study, our lineage. Now, I could go on, but I'm not. I just want to address, especially for those of us who are into Isheshe or
Mm.
Afrocentric, consciousness and all of that, that if we don't see that,
Mm.
you know, in its reality, as hard as it is, and as much as we've been conditioned to not see
Mm.
that,
Yeah.
then we're still stuck in that, oh, we were slaves box, and oh, if it wasn't for this and that, we would still, yeah, no, 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 no.
Mm.
This is an ongoing process of man's inhumanity to man.
Mm. Mm.
And when this really hit me when I was in the Netherlands,
Mm.
for example, and speaking with the people, okay, I
Mm.
was invited there, to speak on
Yes.
Ifa,
Mm.
but I didn't go there to speak on Ifa.
Mm.
There to learn about Europeans,
Yes.
okay, not for any mal reason, but hey, if I'm going to learn. And
Yeah.
speaking with people who didn't know who their grandmothers were, and speaking with people whose mothers had been traumatized during the world wars. The
Mm.
World War I killed more people than those of us would put numbers on were enslaved.
Mm.
And then add to that World War II. So they were killing each other off. The Japanese were taking British soldiers, European soldiers, and enslaving them in their labor camps.
Yes.
Just like Hitler was taking not only the Jews, but the Polacks, the Polish people, okay, and the surrounding other people, and he was treating them just like they were treating the Jewish people. You understand? And so when we start to see this on a global scale, as opposed to, oh, whoa, it just happened to us, and no, 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 no. If we're going to lift humanity, we have to lift ourselves. You know. And this is fact. This is not conjecture. This is not speculation. This is fact.
Yeah.
Mitsubishi was enslaving people. Okay? But they call themselves prisoners of war. Well, guess what? Our young men were prisoners of war also when you were first bringing them over here, because we were fighting back. As quiet as it's kept. We just weren't running around, in the forest and everything. We had fighting systems. We have warriors. We have regalia. We have weapons. Okay, we got to lift from this "oh, woe is me" kind of energy and attitude.
Yeah.
If somebody said, "Well, your ancestors were slaves," I look right back at them and so were yours. And just like you can prove that mine were, I can prove that yours were. So either we're going to be eye to eye or I'm out. No, because you're talking foolishness right now.
Yeah. Wow. So many amazing thoughts and comments. And, we are so excited and inspired by all of you who came and stayed the entire show. And I know many of you, please share the link to the show, the YouTube recording of the show. Please post on your social media so as many people will learn more about Oloye's work and this new book and the movement that he has for grandfather. And I want to thank you again for being a guest on The Window, but more importantly, on today, where across the world, my Orisha Yemaja is being honored and celebrated with feast and food and song and drumming. I have to give homage to you and Ia Sequoia Karade, as well as Awo Akankukbe Karade, for placing my feet in the mud and the medicine on my head and in my ori, activating it as you told me. And I will be forever so many blessings. I thank you today on her day because she has saved my life so many times and blessed my children, my grandchildren, my family.
See?
It is because of you. And I must always acknowledge, that this nation that you gave birth to through the womb of Obatala and your brilliance and your mind and your consciousness and what you taught us. And the Tai Chi, I have a funny story about the Tai Chi. The first time that Baba came to visit in Colorado to do a lecture at the College of Isla School of Theology, when he first came to visit the home, it was like 6 a.m. and we were preparing for our day's events. And Oloye went out, as he does often, to do his Tai Chi in the morning. And our dog was outside, and we were like, he's going to get bit. The dog is going to attack him because she doesn't let anybody come in that yard that she doesn't know. And he says, it's all right. And he walks out into that yard, and we're standing, my family and I are standing with our mouths gaped open, because when he goes into the first Tai Chi pose, the dog Nandi just lays at his feet. Believe it. But it speaks volumes to your soul, because she knew that this was a friend.
Yeah.
And she saw your divinity. That's, the beauty, the pureness of animals.
Yes. Yes.
And yes, so on and so on. There's so many stories like that we could tell of the beauty and the power of what you have created. And from the moment that I walked into your home, which was like a huge brownstone on the East Coast, and everywhere I looked, there were images of me as an African woman.
Yeah.
And that changed me. Whew, I don't want to get emotional, but
it's okay.
from
Emotions are
the inside out,
yeah.
it changed me in the whole course of my life.
Wow.
And the way that you taught with non-extremism, with
Right.
teaching us about the importance of what we put in our body, food.
Right.
Not that we have to be perfect,
Right.
but to eat life-giving foods, the importance of exercise and movement, which you modeled every day for us while we were there, and scholarly study.
Yes.
That it's not just about the rituals, but it's
Right.
about what we put inside, and self mastery was
Yes.
also the principle that you, Oloye, and you introduced that. And many, we say that it can be imitated but never duplicated.
Okay.
So we give homage, we give homage, we give homage today on Yemajaz Day. And to all of you who are listening and watching us live, we thank you for coming out, for supporting today the Oloye Ifa Karade. Long live the Karade Nation. And thus we rise, we continue to rise, to excel. As Baba says, we're still doing it, and even more. Please go online today and support by purchasing your copy, sharing the good news of the work of the Oloye, and continuing to keep the legacy strong. And as Baba teaches us, return the people to the tradition. Kama Orisha. Look to the Orisha. So you been listening. And Baba, do you have any closing remarks?
I do, but it would be a whole nother show. I just want to say that love, okay, however it's defined, please embrace it as a container for everything. Everything. And if the word unconditional starts to make any sense, it's in the acceptance. And then we master how we respond. So love everything all the time. Dance in the rain, feel the wind, give homage to the essence of your original. Give them you. TaShia.
TaShia, everybody. Goodbye. Have a fabulous rest of your Saturday. Share the video, share the video, share the video. And tag us so that we know you did. We love you. Oloye, I will see you.